I'm making this video because I want to educate you and share my thoughts on something not widely known or acknowledged. What I want to discuss is that there is a spiritual and intellectual aspect of polygyny. Yes, polygyny is for spiritual and intellectual people. During my journey in polygyny, I struggled with understanding why women were so against it when discussing it with new potentials. I know that you shouldn't have to convince someone, it should come from within, but women aren't exactly doing it in large numbers. Now, I lived in London and I knew early on that doing polygyny there would be practically impossible. That's one of the reasons why I chose to move back to Africa, to get married on my terms in a relationship structure that I agreed with. So I moved back to Africa and I found a wife and had 2 children and engaged in polygyny on a surface level. By surface level, I mean I scratched the surface. My wife knew I had other girlfriends. She even met one and spoke to several others. It wasn't full-blown polygyny like all my legit wives, but it came close. I'm happy with my progress and what I achieved because it was better than what I ever did in London, but it still wasn't the level of polygyny I wanted. Recently, while looking back at my journey, is when I discovered that polygamy is for highly spiritual people. But not just spiritual. Polygamy is for spiritual and intellectual people. If you're a man that wants to practice polygyny, the chances are you are vibrating on a high frequency and you're also highly intelligent. If you're a woman that wants to practice polygyny and you initiated polygyny, or you don't need much convincing, the chances are you are vibrating on a high frequency and you're also highly intelligent. You're having such a hard time trying to convince women to do polygyny because they're not spiritual and they have low IQs. See, here's the thing. Most people have a warped view of spirituality, but spirituality is related to a high level of intellect. Let me raise a question. What if polygynous men have a higher level of spirituality and intellect that is too much for one person, but would be better shared amongst multiple wives? Because of your high level of spirituality and intellect, you're vibrating on a higher frequency and you're past the basic limiting and primal laws of monogamy. You see, a woman is created to be a helpmate and help her man achieve his goals and fulfill his purpose. At the same time, a man can help a woman to unlock her talents and discover her potential. We're talking about a lifelong relationship here. Now, everyone has their own ideas about what spirituality means to them. Spirituality is vast and covers a great deal of concepts. When you talk about spirituality from a general level, you're talking about how in tune a person is to the spiritual world and how in tune they are to themselves. It can be said that religion is about following rules and obeying God. But spirituality is a step above religion because you become your own master. A spiritual person is well educated about chakras, glands, gods and demigods, earth energies, astrology, numerology, crystals, colors, vibrations, spirits, energies, meditation, prayers, rituals, and more. Being educated on an intellectual level is great, but the more advanced soul knows how to utilize the knowledge of these things or the spirit world to attract, manifest, and shape the world to their likeness. This is where intellect ties in, because you have to gather, read, learn, and process the information, then test it and practice it to achieve your desired results. Imagine you've gone to a Babalawo. That's a Yoruba traditional priest for guidance, or any spiritualist for that matter. They'll say prayers, they'll do incantations, summon spirits in another language. They'll know and see things that you can't. My friend, that takes intellect. To be able to memorize and speak another language, to say the prayers or incantations, to know how to achieve the desired result. Real spirituality is a highly disciplined state and should be respected. In the video, Why Spiritually Awakened People Secretly Struggle with Lust by Alan Watts, he explains that in some religious or spiritual circles, sex is frowned upon. And the rule is, if you want to reach the heights of spiritual attainment, you've got to leave sex behind. This is common with priests, nuns, monks who all practice abstinence. The truth is that sexuality represents our deepest connection to the spiritual world. So is it surprising that spiritual people are trying to engage in polygyny, which is an expression of spirituality, a format where they can exercise or control their lust? Is it surprising in black conscious circles such as Nawapu, Hebrew Israelites, Nation of Islam, etc., that polygamy is often talked about or practiced because they have achieved a certain level of consciousness or spirituality and are trying to return back to the African way of life? See, at the heart of spirituality is desire. It is the catalyst that drives our sexual nature. Desire never leaves, it's always there, but as a spiritual person, you're more aware of it. Awakening doesn't make you less human, it makes you feel everything more deeply, including desire. So is it possible for people to feel something more than others? What if some people feel love on a high level? What if some people experience orgasm on a high level? Without getting too spiritual, we can view love on a physical level. Harriet Tubman, a freed slave, risked her life to go back 13 times to free other slaves in America. People adopt children and raise them as their own. People put their own lives on the line to save strangers. These are examples of love. Love can't necessarily be measured or quantified on a spiritual level, but are there any insights into this? And if the notion that some experience love on a deeper level is true, what other explanation is there for polygamous people who are locked in or trying to strengthen that connection? If sexuality represents our deepest connection to the spiritual world and people experience love on a high level, this is because being woke or spiritual makes you feel everything, like love or sex, more deeply. In spiritual terms, because you've awakened your chakras and glands and you can feel the full surge of energy in love and sex. A great insight into qualifying love that I posed earlier might be where the Bible teaches us that God so loved the world that he sent his only son. God loved the world, that's multiple, that's polygamous. And we can compare that to Christ loving the church and the man loving his wives, all examples of polygamous love. Sex is a huge part of marriage and polygyny, but polygyny is not just about sex. It's way more than that. And unfortunately, most people can't see past it. Do you know why? If you've been paying attention, it's because their level of spirituality and intellect doesn't allow them to. A spiritual and spark woman would know the benefits of having a sister wife from a practical, biological, and sexual point of view, and wouldn't limit or fight his sexual desire. It doesn't take much for a man to have a relationship with two or more women. Take it from me, I know. Polygyny is about caring for and loving multiple people, sharing and protecting them, providing for them, and establishing a healthy family unit. The same kind of love that Harriet Tubman used to go back to free slaves is the same kind of love that a wife should have to find her husband an additional wife. Realizing that the good, handsome, hard-working, well-abled, strong, and most importantly, godly man that she has been blessed with is desired by other females. Instead of limiting his sexual nature, potential, purpose, and destiny, she can instead share it with another woman. That new woman can be an asset to her and her family. She can become a sister wife, help out with the house, the raising of children, provide an extra income, and live in happiness, peace, and sacred union. It's not just love that's required to do this family, it's spirituality. Intellectually, a wise woman would know that it's a man's sexual nature to be polygynous, and it's not a matter of if the man finds a new woman, it's when. Why wait for impending doom or chase or chaos to arrive? Why not address it before it's an issue, with rules and boundaries, and even choosing as a second wife? We spoke about desire earlier, that it never leaves. So after a couple of years of marriage, after fights, children, and your daily routine, the desire you have suppressed will be ready to find new life. A wise woman would know the practical benefits of a new woman in the home, as we have discussed, but also the sexual benefits of a new woman to satisfy her husband. A new woman can fulfill his desires in ways that she just might not be able to. Not because she's a less of a woman, but because each wife connects to the man in a different way. Spirituality is about knowing and fulfilling, knowing your nature and fulfilling gaps. A wife would want her husband to establish a new connection to that spiritual world and experience love in another way. You know deep down he craves and yearns for the love of another woman. So why not just let him have it? A new woman, a new body to connect with and engage with, a world full of sexual exploration. That's not a sin. It's sanctified by God. The act of sex itself doesn't make one spiritual, so I don't think you should go and have all the sex in the world to achieve enlightenment. Real sex is with real people you know and have built connections with, not strangers and one night stands. A whore that engages in prostitution isn't spiritual, far from it, because she can actually lose her soul from keeping the sperm of multiple men and having spiritual ties with wicked men. It goes against her biological makeup, which is to mate with one man. A woman is internal, so she takes in the physical and spiritual aspects of the man she sleeps with. Men are external beings. We go into women. And we can wash them off to a greater degree, but we also have to be careful with who we sleep with because we can also form spiritual ties. To conclude, it's pointless trying to talk about polygyny with people that are not spiritual because it's a waste of time. They're not on that level or frequency. Engage them at the level they're at. And if that means a short-term relationship, then so be it. It's not every girl you meet that you must discuss polygyny with. Polygyny is for special people, male and females, who are highly spiritual and intellectual, and strong enough to go against the norms of society and engage in a relationship structure which is more benefiting to their race, biology, and culture. I hope you learn and apply these findings during life. Sugar Star Child, Black Egyptians, you cannot stop my fate.